Part 1 of The Men of Zanzibar. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Carolin. The Men of Zanzibar by Richard Harding Davis. Part 1. When his hunting trip in Uganda was over, Hemingway shipped his specimens and weapons direct from Mombasa to New York, but he himself journeyed south over the few miles that stretched to Zanzibar. On the outward trip the steamer had touched there, and the little he saw of the place had so charmed him that all the time he was on safari he promised himself he would not return home without revisiting it. On the morning he arrived he had called upon Harris, his consul, to inquire about the hotel, and that evening Harris had returned his call and introduced him at the club. One of the men there asked Hemingway what brought him to Africa, and when he answered simply and truthfully that he had come to shoot big game, it was as though he had said something clever, and everyone smiled. On the way back to the hotel, as they felt their way through the narrow slits in the wall that served as streets, he asked the consul why everyone had smiled. The consul laughed evasively. "It's a local joke," he explained. "A lot of men come here for reasons best kept to themselves, and they all say what you said, that they've come to shoot big game. It's grown to be a polite way of telling a man it's none of his business." "But I didn't mean it that way," protested Hemingway. "I really have been after big game for the last 8 months. In the tone one uses to quiet a drunken man or a child, the consul answered soothingly, "Of course," he assented, "of course you have." But to show he was not hopelessly credulous, and to keep Hemingway from involving himself deeper, he hinted tactfully, "Maybe they noticed you came ashore with only one steamer trunk and no gun cases." "Oh, that's easily explained," laughed Hemingway. "My heavy luggage—" The consul had reached his house, and his boy was pounding upon it with his heavy staff. "Please don't explain to me," he begged. "It's quite unnecessary. Down here we are so darned glad to see any white man that we don't ask anything of him except that he won't hurry away. We judge them as they behave themselves here. We don't care what they are at home or why they left it." Hemingway was highly amused to find that he, a respectable, sport-loving Hemingway of Massachusetts, should be mistaken for a gun-runner, slave-dealer, or escaping cashier, greatly delighted him. "All right," he exclaimed, "I'll promise not to bore you with my past, and I agree to be judged by Zanzibar standards. I only hope I can live up to them, for I see I am going to like the place very much." Hemingway kept his promise. He bored no one with confidences as to his ancestors. Of his past he made a point never to speak. He preferred that the little community into which he had dropped should remain unenlightened, should take him as they found him. Of the fact that a college was named after his grandfather, and that on his father's railroad he could travel through many states, he was discreetly silent. The men of Zanzibar asked no questions. That Hemingway could play a stiff game of tennis, a stiffer game of poker, and on the piano songs from home, was to them sufficient recommendation. In a week he had become one of the most popular members of Zanzibar society. It was as though he had lived there always. Hemingway found himself reaching out to grasp the
Sample complete. Ready to continue?